All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate you. I'm Jimmy. We're making it work. We're going to put a Dakota digital VHX 60C in my pickup truck. PU stands for pickup. I do have an Intellitronix dash in it now, but it's a glitch monster. The only gauges I can count on in it is battery and fuel sender. All the other gauges will jump around at random. Even the speedometer's not hooked up. They claimed I got interference, so I tried rerouting wires and moving wires away and all kinds of things, but it still does it. I even put a tack filter in, but it actually made it worse somehow. So I started taking some of the senders out already, installing the Dakota digital senders, removing the Intellitronix senders. This is what coolant sender for the Intellitronix looks like. If you can see that, that's what the one for the Dakota digital looks like in comparison. Like an OEM style sensor for Dakota, and I don't know what kind of aftermarket sensor this is, but same thing with the oil pressure. It uses the old style can, 2-wire power and ground, signal and ground. The one from Dakota, I already installed it right there. It's got a 3-wire oil pressure sender, more like an OEM style. So I anticipate I'll have less problems with this. I don't know, I might install it and have the same glitches and find out my truck is possessed. But I know one thing, I've got hours and hours and hours into messing with the Intellitronix to try to get it to work. I'm gonna install this and find out if it's the truck or the dash. So they look pretty similar. I'll take you in a truck and show you what they... I don't like digital dashes in really old vehicles. I know some people do, that's fine. I don't. So this is the look that I'm going for. Intellitronix, Dakota. Of course, you reuse the bezel. I'll switch all that over. And that's what we're going to do in this video. Go from Intellitronix to Dakota and see if all our glitches go away. If you saw the video where I put the fan in, I just finished installing this Delta Pag brushless 18-inch fan setup. And I'm fixing to start it up to finish that video, and I realized I can't count on my temperature gauge. So I'm making 2 videos at the same time. I'm going to keep the Delta Pag installation video separate and the cluster video separate, but I need to get the cluster working before I can even run this fan and see how that does. I'm pulling the wire out here from the original harness that I made. This is coming out of that tack filter which goes up to the HEI. So I'm going to run I found some white wire. I'm going to run that into the dash. I'm going to install these harnesses, which is what I really like. This comes with a coolant sensor harness, an oil pressure sender harness. It has a shielded ground with it, and a speed sensor harness, which I think this truck has. I have an S10 Camaro style S10 5-speed transmission. It's the one that's rated for a little less power than the Camaro one. I think 265 horsepower. That's another video. But it has a 2-wire sender, I believe. I have to get under the truck and look again. So I may need some type of adapter to use this. But we'll see. For now, I'm going to hook up these wires, run my tack into the truck. We're going to uninstall the other dash and get started. I use the Weather Pack butt connector. 2-wire connector for the sender. 3-wire connector for the oil pressure. Now I just got to root them into the truck, clean up this harness. We'll get all that tidied up. Probably going to have to do some more work around here. I'm trying to keep the harness away from the wires. You don't want them right next to them, and you don't want it right next to the alternator from what everyone's saying. And I tried moving wires with the other cluster too. Didn't seem to matter. So I'm just going to put them in the middle for now, and then we'll see if we have to reroute them. Right now, we're going into the phase where we mount the switch. This is a control switch. Couple self-tapping screws. This will run down to the box, and the box has one connector that goes up to the cluster. Pretty simple. And I'll take the wires that go to this cluster and run them all to the bottom of this. I think where I'm going to mount this is probably not the optimum location, but it'll work. I'm going to mount it here, a little off to the side, and then the carpeting will come over it like this, and you won't see it from up here. You look in the vehicle, you can't see it. You gotta really look for it, so it'll be good. And it's easily accessible if I need to mess with a connection or anything like that. These wires I can cut way down. We'll do all that too. I think it's time to get this cluster out of here now. Let's see here, one more Phillips. There's 2 electrical connectors is the way I wired this up. This thing is a really tight fit. It looks sloppy and you can see gaps, but it's hard to get in and out. I don't understand it, but I'll get it. Give myself a little decent amount of length so that would be easy to work on just for this purpose. Pulled all my wires that went to my other cluster down so it's easier to work here. I gotta probably have to cut some tie wraps to get them down there, but I'm gonna switch over this part, plug the cluster in. It's way simpler. You can see all the wires. There's no connector on the cluster from Intellitronix, and this one you just plug in basically like a phone cable type of setup, and the phone cable goes down to that, and that's it. Everything else plugs in that module. That's got to be a control module of some sort, and it tells the gauges where to go like a modern vehicle does. Pretty cool, actually. Here's the dip switches for the fuel gauge in the Intellitronix. This one you do with programming. That's what this switch is for. You put it on fuel, you tell it how many ohms you want it to show, and this is a 30 ohm setup. So once you get to that, bink, the fuel gauge should be right. Looks like it's going to be pretty cool, so let's get to it. I'm going to switch this over now. Phillips screws. Fits a little tighter in the bezel, that's for sure. I wasn't sure if it was going to fit, but a little bit of tweaking, using the screws to pull it in that last 1/16 of an inch worked. That plugs into the other end. I can go ahead and install this now. These old Chevy trucks, the clips for the screws float around on the little slide, a little metal tab. So I find that when you can't find the screw, the little clip, you just kind of guide it around and you'll jiggle it to the hole centered, and then you can get your screws started. For some reason, when you push the cluster in and out, it likes to slide those little blind nuts, they call them. Basically a nut you can't get to from the back. They put that little, it slides on, has a spring clip and then threads, or in this case, a hole for a screw. So that's my little trick to line them up if you're doing this kind of thing and you don't have a lot of experience. The only thing left now is to start hooking up these wires to the module. Alright guys, we got the keys, we got the wiring's pretty much buttoned up. A couple little things I'll probably go in there to tidy up. I've got everything kind of tucked under the carpet here for now. I might have to see how much that bothers me down the road, but you know what happens when you temporarily wire something. It ends up being permanently wired. I'm gonna get these lights out of here. We'll fire this thing up, see what the cluster looks like. See if it lights up with the dimmers. Headlights. Nope, it does not. That's interesting. Turn the key on. Oh, something happened. Set fuel sender. Let's go. Turn the radio down. I believe you go. Let's see here. I'm gonna peck around. Oh, what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna start it up. Oil pressure good. Volts is good. Fuel hasn't been set yet. I gotta get my instructions. Hold switch 1. I got 1 to the left and 2 to the right. Turn key on. Setup. Tap several times. Set up tack. Set up volt. Set up water. Set up oil. Set up fuel. Hold switch 1 again to enter sender option menu. Fuel sender 33 is displayed. Custom. Test. Done. Set fuel sender. Sender switch first time is displayed. Tap to change sender type. 33, 63. I think we're on 33. Let's see. I think I have a little less than 1/4 of a tank. So I want GM30. GM30. And when desired sender, hold until done is displayed. Done. All right, set up lighting. Lighting dim level. Day level. Dim level. Adjust. That looks pretty good for nighttime to me. I'm going to 20. Till it's done. Oop, keeps going. Have to figure out these buttons. Don't worry, I'll get it. I'll just wait. See what it does. Done. Day level. I like that. You want it brighter during the day, of course. Done. Done. Set up displays. Set up info. Set up odometer. Set up speed. Set up tack. Signal. 12 volt high. 5 volt low. 12 volt high. Should be what it is. Done. Volt is good. Water is good. Oil is good. Oh, that's telling me what system is in there. That's cool. I'm digging it. Info done. Now, I should have a tack. I'm going to go out and I put that tack filter on, and I was getting all that weird stuff with the other dash. I wonder if that tack filter's backwards, although it still read a good tack signal on the other dash. It was reading tack with it disconnected from distributor too. I'm wondering if the way I had this tack filter in it was grounding the signal out to the dash, and the other dash was just had so many glitches and problems that it was reading a tack signal anyway. Tack works. Temperature's coming up. The only thing that doesn't work yet is the fuel. I gotta figure that out. No more glitches. Okay guys, I got the fuel gauge working by going to GM 30 ohm. I'm not going to set my speed cal until I can go drive it somewhere. 14.5 volts, temperature's right, oil pressure, no jumping and glitching. Should be getting close, 185 or so on that temp gauge. This has its own sender, so the temp sender for the cluster's here, and the temp sender for the fan is in the radiator. So there'll be a couple of degrees variation from one to the other, but there it is, low speed. I'm gonna watch my dash temperature and see what happens with that. About 185, 188 on the dash. That's good. The fan cycled on and cycled off. No temperature crazy high stuff. All right. Pretty happy with that. I'll tell you guys, if you're in the market for a cluster, the Intellitronix is attractive because it's $200 less, but it also doesn't work. So just pony up, buy once, cry once. There are times when you save money, and there are times when you can't. That Dakota dash, I've spent probably, I would guess, 7 or 8 hours rerouting wires and trying to figure out why the Intellitronix one was so glitchy and why it wouldn't work. And every time I would talk to them, they would tell me to move a different wire and try something else. Nothing worked. The only thing that worked was taking it out. So that Dakota dash, I can highly recommend that. It's not sponsored. I paid for that. My credit card's been melted with this truck, but I can't stand having things like that not working. The only thing left is to calibrate the speedometer. I'll do a quick video on that once I get that part. Thanks for watching my dash installation video. That's video 100. And the fan installation is going to be video 99. Make sure you check out the Delta Pack fan video too. It's not sponsored. I paid for it. It's just an awesome product.
And when something's good, I say it is. When something's bad, I'll either say it is or I won't make a video about it, mention it at all. Intellitronix, for one. Don't forget to torque the like button, subscribe if you're new here and you haven't yet. We have 2,100 videos on the channel now. We mostly do day in the shop, but we got quite a few project truck videos bringing this thing back from the salvage yard. So check those out. And most of all, I hope I see you in one of my other videos, because you're awesome.